Chapter 1 Enter Douluo Continent and play the role to draw. You are listening at novelfull.audio. By Pang. Seriously? After all this time, you're still reading that junk? You trying to throw your life away? The college entrance exam is the day after tomorrow. This is your last shot to change your whole future. If you can't awaken some special talent after this reincarnation secret realm, you know how this ends, right? Genius shot by Pang. A death glare snatched the 3 years of secret realm and 5 years simulation off Yi Ming's desk, who was sitting next to Bai Pang, and whacked Bai Pang on the head with it, thwack, star. Right then, another book of the same size tumbled out of Yi Ming's stuff. Genia picked it up. It was the sequel to the book Bai Pang had been reading. Her face went beet red. She pointed at Bai Pang, then at Yi Ming, practically vibrating with rage. You too. My office. Now, as teacher Qin stormed out of the classroom, Yi Ming gave his desk mate a totally bewildered look. He'd only been in this alternate world for a few hours, just finished piecing together the info about this place that had suddenly popped into his head, along with the infinite role-playing system thing. He hadn't even noticed what kind of books were on his desk. He shot a glance at the white blob next to him, who was trying to hide a smirk. That fatso set me up. Yi was framed. Later, in the teacher's office, Yi Ming and Bai Pang sat like scolded puppies, heads hung low, waiting for Qinya's lecture. The college entrance exam is practically here, and you're both practically adults. Qinya sighed. I don't even want to have this talk. But you gotta understand, with the alien invasion, Blue Star is a mess. If you go into the reincarnation secret realm during the exam and don't awaken some kind of special talent, you'll have no choice but to head to the front lines and build walls. And without any special abilities in a place like that, you're just signing your death warrant. Her gaze lingered on Yi Ming and Bai Pang, a flicker of pity in her eyes. Jing City No. 8 High School was basically the bottom of the barrel. It took in kids with little talent and families with even less pull. The special talent awakening rate during the college entrance exam barely scraped 3%. Of the remaining 97%, about half wouldn't make it out of the reincarnation secret realm alive, and those lucky enough to survive but still fail to awaken a talent or find some special opportunity. They'd mostly get shipped off to the battlefield to fight aliens and stack sandbags, a one-way ticket to death. In this brutal environment, a lot of students who figured they couldn't pass the exam and awaken talents just gave up. Qinya figured Bai Pang and Yi Ming were those types, but she was a teacher. She couldn't just give up on them, even if they'd given up on themselves. Qinya's words hit Yi Ming hard. He'd been busy sorting things out in his head, but this was a wake-up call. He didn't try to weasel out of it. He just apologized to Qinya, straight up. Teacher Qin, I messed up. I promise I'll buckle down and do my best on the exam. Yi Ming looked her right in the eye, his face determined. No matter what happens. Bai Pang nodded like a bobblehead. Qinya was a little surprised. She cracked a smile, nodded, and said, I believe you. Now get back to class. After the exam, come back and get your book. Yi Ming and Bai Pang went bright red and bolted. Even though Yi Ming was nervous about the situation, he wasn't panicking. After checking out the infinite role-playing system in his head, he was itching to give it a try. Infinite role-playing system. Role-play any world you want, and earn rewards based on how well you play the part. Mission, to be started. Enter the reincarnation secret realm and draw your first role. He walked out of school, shot the breeze with Bai Pang for a bit, then headed home, following the directions he now had in his head. The sights along the way felt like he'd stepped back in time. Students hurried home, looking stressed. The depressing vibe made him even more nervous. Old City, Building 9, 4th floor, Apartment 7. The peeling paint and the green moss in the corner lined up with the memories of the original owner. Not exactly starting off on the right foot. Rubbing his chin, Yi Ming found himself standing in front of apartment number 7 on the 4th floor. He fished a silver key from behind the loose water pipe in the corner. Click, starred as he opened the door and took into place, feeling a wave of confusion wash over him. 2 chipped enamel cups sat on the wooden table, the paint flaking off. The wooden chair next to it wobbled. One leg was tied up with rope, a clear sign it had broken and been patched up. The most valuable thing in the whole place was probably the only appliance, a small refrigerator with a huge red double happiness character plastered on it. Nobody else was home. The original owner's father had died years ago, building fortifications against the aliens. His mother, Zhang Cuizue, hadn't awakened any special talent. Because her husband died on the front lines, she managed to land a job at a factory in Jing City with 1 day off a week. That's how she'd raised Yi Ming. Yi Ming went into his cramped room, flopped on the bed, and fell into a deep think. Creek. He shot up, a fire blazing in his eyes. I'm not the original owner, and I'm not going to just sit around waiting for death. I've got a long road ahead. College entrance exam. Reincarnation secret realm. This is my chance to turn things around. Yi Ming pulled the 3 years of secret realm and 5 years simulation book out of his bag and started studying it closely. Gotta sharpen the axe before you chop the wood. He wanted to get a handle on exactly what this reincarnation secret realm was all about. After a long time, Yi Ming closed the book with a strange look on his face. 30 years ago, the aliens invaded, and Blue Star went to war. At the same time, countless reincarnation secret realms suddenly appeared all over the world. People would enter a strange new world through them. Lots of people gained powers beyond the average person from the reincarnation secret realm, extraordinary talents. What weirded Yi Ming out was that the 3 years of secret realm and 5 years simulation book was full of stories from people who'd been through the reincarnation secret realm, and the worlds they'd experienced felt familiar. Martial universe, infinite terror, the throne of gods. Yi Ming scratched his head. So, this reincarnation secret realm thing is like an infinite flow story? Man, I wonder what world I'll end up in during the college entrance exam. Please don't let it be something abstract like Mysterious Revival or The Strange Immortal. That he had the infinite role-playing system, sure, but he wasn't convinced he could survive those worlds early on. That first night, Yi Ming spent the time reviewing every novel and movie he'd ever seen, trying to remember all the details. Before he knew it, morning had arrived, only 1 day until the college entrance exam. School was out today, giving students time to prepare. Tomorrow morning at 8, they were supposed to meet at school and head to the reincarnation hall downtown to enter the reincarnation secret realm. Yi Ming grabbed the 397 yuan the original owner had stashed under the pillow, went out and bought some supplies, then went home to dig through the information in his head again. Blue Star Calendar, Year 31, June 7th, College Entrance Exam Day. In the center of Jingqing City, the square in front of the reincarnation hall was swarming with students who were about to take the exam. Students from City No. 1 High School, please enter the reincarnation hall first. Keep moving. Everyone grab your gear and head into the exam room following the proctor's instructions. After a long round of tests and checks, Yi Ming finally got his own reincarnation watch and stepped into the reincarnation hall. 18 portals pulsed with light in the reincarnation hall, and long lines of students shuffled toward them. Soon, it was Yi Ming's turn. Here goes. He took a deep breath, strapped the black reincarnation watch onto his left wrist, and stepped into the glowing portal. Buzz, star. A flash of light exploded in his vision, accompanied by weightlessness and dizziness. He squeezed his eyes shut. At that moment, the system notification chimed in his head. Ding, the host has entered the reincarnation secret realm, Douluo Continent. Mission initiated. Drawing your roll now, new book alert. Please add it to your library and give it a read. Thanks. Chapter 2 1% Role-Playing Degree, System Reward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. Character extraction complete, the refining Dao Master. Yi Ming got a rush of excitement hearing the system's notification. Douluo Continent, here I come. What floored him even more was landing the role of Fang Yuan, the refining Dao Master himself. The Master in Douluo Continent. Oh, this is gonna be good. A grin spread across Yi Ming's face. This was going to be interesting. Before his eyes fully adjusted, Fang Yuan's story flashed through his mind. First life, self-sacrifice to save millions, using the spring and autumn cicada to rewind time. Second life, childhood sweetheart sacrifice, boosting his cultivation. Then, the whole clan strong-arming him into upgrading his qualifications to protect their legacy. Buzz. The scene snapped into focus after Yi Ming's quick plot recap. He stood before a quaint little village, a towering mountain rising behind it. He was alone. Fatty Bai and the other students had entered the reincarnation secret realms separately. Looks like the college entrance exam split everyone into different worlds. The supplies he bought outside were gone. He was wearing simple clothes suited for this world, specifically, a gray linen shirt with Haotian stitched on the chest. A backpack held a couple of black rocks, or, maybe? Most importantly, he could feel soul power brewing inside. He instinctively reached out, channeling his soul power, and a short-handled black smithing hammer materialized in his hand, the Haotian hammer, but a busted, reverse-mutated version. A pathetic forging hammer. Still better than blue silver grass, he muttered, checking his soul power again. He registered a measly level 9. Seriously? Weak. He scoffed, 18 years old, level 9 soul power, hammer martial soul, Haotian sect outer sect grunt. That was the identity the reincarnation secret realm had handed him. His black wristwatch vibrated. Yi Ming flicked it on, and a virtual projection flickered into view. Yi Ming, Reincarnation Secret Realm, Primary Missions, Point 1. Become an inner disciple of Haotian sect. Reward, Common Talent, Random, 20 yuanshire, 2. Reach Soul King. Reward, Rare Talent, Random, 100 yuanshire, 3. Become the leader of Haotian sect. Reward, Epic Talent, Random, 2000 yuanshire, 4. Reach Title Douluo. Reward, Legendary Talent, Random, 10,000 yuanshire, 5. Become a god. Reward, Mythical Talent, Random, 100,000 yuanshire. Note 1, rewards are tiered, based on completion. Time limit, 5 years. Failure to complete any mission results in elimination. Note 2, time flow in this secret realm is 100:1 compared to the real world. 100 days here equals 1 day in reality. Yi Ming sighed. No wonder the pass rate was so low. The entry bar was already set sky high just for the simplest common talent, and the legendary and mythical rewards. Forget about it, he was bloodless, untalented, and uncultivated to become an inner disciple of the Haotian sect. This made it extremely difficult for him to complete the task with the identity given by the Samsara secret realm. 5 years wasn't enough to grind his way through the ranks. Not a chance. He'd awakened his martial soul at 6, and now, at 18, he was only at soul power level 9, in Douluo Continent terms. He'd be lucky to get 2 soul rings in his whole life. To even qualify as a Haotian sect inner disciple, you needed to be a 3-ring soul master at least. And that was just the difficulty of this Douluo Continent dungeon. He didn't even want to think about the other fantasy worlds. His gaze lingered on the last task for a moment before turning off the watch. 5 years to become a god. Ha! He knew the Douluo plot inside and out, but even then, it was too much to ask. He needed a different angle. Lucky for him, he could level up by embodying the role and rolling for loot. Tang Yanran. What are you waiting for? Get your butt to the village and turn in your hall. A young man in white, of medium build, stood at the village entrance, scowling. Yi Ming waved him off casually, adopting an air of indifference as he strolled towards the village. He was slipping into character, fully inhabiting a role meant knowing everything about them. Fang Yuan was simple, driven, pure. He had one goal and one goal only: eternal life. Anything that stood in the way of that goal would be crushed, leaving him free to stride towards immortality. And acting was also a game of its own. External performance. Internal. Playing for the system. For others. All these needed to be explored and verified, one by one. Yi Ming could test those things. Starting now, the young man, Tang Yo, a level 21 great soul master, led Yi Ming straight to the village chief's house. Unlike Yi Ming's lowly chore status, Tang Yo was an official outer disciple. The truth was that most of the residents of this small village at the foot of the mountain were outer disciples of the Haotian sect. Ever since the disappearance of Tang Chen, the first leader, the Haotian sect had closed its gates, vanishing from the world's view. White-clothed outer disciples like Tang Yo were specially placed in the village by Haotian sect as guards. Tang Yo handed over a basket of high-grade ore and happily pocketed several gold soul coins. Then, it was Yi Ming's turn. He handed in a meager ore in his backpack and was rewarded with 50 copper soul coins. After closing the mountain, subsidies for disciples were cut way down. Now they had to perform tasks every day to earn money and other cultivation materials. The one collecting the ore was Tang Xiaolong, the village chief's son. He jotted something down in a small notebook, then sneered at Yi Ming. Tang Yeming, you're still way behind on your monthly quota. If you don't get 100 contribution points by the end of the month, you get 0 subsidy. Yi Ming frowned, glaring at Tang Xiaolong. The Reincarnation Secret Realms information dump had made it clear that this version of him had already met his monthly contribution requirement. Tang Xiaolong was basically shaking him down, but it wasn't wise to cross someone with no power, no influence, and no strength. He would naturally think and act according to Fang Yuan's approach. Yi Ming gave a faint smile, eyes as deep as a well. Thanks for the reminder, Brother Xiaolong. I'll make up the difference in the next couple of days. The system pinged in his mind. Ding! Refining Tao Venerable Roleplay at 1%. Reward, Moon Orchid Flower Sea Spirit Spring, and First Level Goo Worm, Moonlight Goo. Receive now. Yi Ming kept his face impassive. He chose to hold off for now. Tang Xiaolong waved a dismissive hand as Yi Ming headed towards his hut. Once he was out of earshot, Tang Xiaolong snorted to Tang Yo, that waste is still only a level 9 soul master after all these years. What a waste of resources. Tang Yo nodded, also filled with contempt. He's a disgrace to the Haotian sect. Tang Xiaolong's eyes gleamed as he hatched a plan to completely steal Yi Ming's subsidy. He whispered to Tang Yo, keep an eye on him over the next couple of days and block any chance of him getting more tasks. When the time comes, I'll tell him his contribution's not enough, and we'll split his subsidy ourselves. The menial disciple's subsidy is small, but it's better than nothing. Ha ha ha. Tang Yo nodded eagerly. How much could a no-name, backgroundless grunt like him do anyway? Kill him off in a deserted place, and the Haotian sect won't ask. Yi Ming, of course, didn't know about their plotting. Back in his tiny house at the edge of the village, he locked the wooden door and sat cross-legged on the bed. System, receive reward. Ding! Distributing reward. Chapter 3, Spiritual Spring Cleansing, opening the acupoints, taking advantage of the system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! Rewards incoming. Moon Orchid Sea Spiritual Spring Refining is now live. The instant the system chime echoed in his mind, Yi Ming blinked, finding himself in a completely new setting. Before him stretched a sea of blue moon orchids. Bisecting this floral ocean was a wide spiritual spring river, its tranquil current separating the moon orchids into 2 shimmering halves. Each moon orchid, its petals shaped like a slender crescent, glowed with a soft, elegant blue-pink hue. These flowers were a prime food source for various goo worms. Yi Ming's heart did a little jump. This spiritual spring. It was the key for a goo master to unlock their potential. All he had to do was endure the spring's pressure, take 10 steps across, and he could use the spiritual spring and the hidden hope goo within the moon orchids to finally open his mind and start down the path of a true goo master. Hitching up his pant legs, Yi Ming waded into the river. The water wasn't deep, barely reaching his calves. Immediately, he felt a crushing pressure, almost forcing him back to the riverbank. Whoa! Taking a deep breath, he steadied himself and began to walk forward slowly. It was like slogging through thick mud. Every step required immense effort. Just as he was struggling, little sparks of white light danced out from the moon orchids on either side, flying directly into him. Instantly, the pressure eased, and Yi Ming managed to push forward another 2 or 3 steps. Throughout the crossing, these motes of white light continued to drift over from the moon orchid sea, merging with his body, hope goo. In the face of adversity, they filled his heart with hope. Driven by the spiritual spring's pressure, these hope goo coalesced into a ball, nestled 3 inches below his navel. 24, 25, 27. By the 27th step, Yi Ming was hitting his limit. Boom! The ball of hope goo in his abdomen suddenly exploded. It felt like he was soaring to the top of the world, and he almost collapsed. Focusing his mind, he looked inward and saw a new orifice had appeared out of thin air below his navel. Success. The orifice had been opened. Meh, just like the Venerable, a sea-level rating. Even with only a sea-level qualification, Ming didn't let it get him down. Feeling the nascent true energy slowly swirling within the newly opened orifice, he could sense his strength had also increased noticeably. Even better, the instant the true energy was created, the soul power within his body went wild, breaking through in one fell swoop and rocketing to the 10th level of a soul warrior, a welcome surprise. The empty orifice was a mysterious place. Even though it resided within Ming's body, it didn't share the same space as his other organs. It seemed both infinitely large and infinitesimally small. In the Gu world, it was known by many names: Purple Mansion, Huaqi, or, most commonly, the Yuanhai empty orifice. The entire orifice resembled a sphere, its surface glowing with a flowing white light, a light film formed by the Gu explosion earlier. Inside the orifice was the Yuanhai itself. The seawater was as smooth as glass, reflecting a green hue, but it possessed a dense, almost bronze quality. This was the bronze true essence only possessed by first-level Gu masters. The bronze sea, each drop of seawater represented true essence, the culmination of Ming's spirit. The sea's surface only filled 44% of the empty orifice, reflecting the limitations of his sea-level qualification. Without a stroke of luck, a sea-level qualification could only reach the 3rd level in this lifetime. Ming shrugged it off. Plenty of Gu could improve one's qualifications, the most famous being the 4th-level blood skull Gu used by the refining Tao master. Using the blood of one's own kin to elevate their abilities. An idea struck Ming. He might just be a Chor's disciple of the Haotian sect, but he was part of a branch of the Haotian sect, and the Haotian sect? They were a sprawling, blood-related organization, family above all. In a way, the entire Haotian sect was his blood relatives. If he used the blood skull Gu to drain them all, wouldn't his qualifications jump to 1st class? Wouldn't that be easy? What a coincidence, Tang San's also Tang Yiming's cousin. Ming smiled, murmuring, things are about to get interesting. Ding! Role-playing as the refining Tao Venerable has reached 5%. Reward, 1 to 5 turn Gu Master Application Encyclopedia and System Storage unlocked. Ming grinned at the sound. He didn't expect a simple, heartfelt comment that echoed the Venerable's words to actually boost his role-playing score. After thinking for a moment, he raised his head slightly and quoted, "It's just a little bit of wind and frost." Waiting for a response, the system remained silent. Scratching his nose, Ming realized that reciting the Venerable's quotes on purpose didn't work. Time to check out those rewards. Focusing, he sensed the system storage space, as large as a football field, had opened. At the same time, a surge of knowledge flooded his mind, the 1 to 5 turn Gu Master Application Encyclopedia. The information was vast. Before he could even process it, a premonition washed over him. He was about to leave this mysterious space. Looking at the moon orchids carpeting the ground, he started plucking them up, throwing them into the system storage space as fast as he could. Moon orchids were the ultimate snack for a ton of Gu worms. Opportunities like this were a dime a dozen. In an instant, a mass of pure white hope Gu stirred, but the system storage space couldn't hold living things. It was no use. These hope Gu were staying put. Without a container, the spiritual spring seeped directly into the earth when he tried to collect it into the system storage space. Ming simply grabbed the sea of moon orchids and pulled them out. His hands were a blur, countless moon orchids being frantically collected into the system storage space. Buzz! Just as Ming yanked up a handful of moon orchids by the roots, the scene vanished, and he was back on the wooden bed in his hut. A smile spread across his face as he looked at the handful of moon orchids in his hand. With these, he didn't have to worry about feeding the moonlight Gu the system had promised. System, gimme the moonlight Gu. Ding. Reward deployed. A moonlight Gu appeared in his hand, crystal clear, shaped like a crescent moon, and resembled a piece of blue crystal. It was incredibly light, almost weightless, and about the size of a normal jade pendant. Ming could even see the lines on his palm through the moonlight Gu. This was a first-level offensive Gu worm, the moonlight Gu. The system-issued moonlight Gu didn't need taming. Ming refined it easily. The bronze sea in his empty orifice rippled, and in an instant, the moonlight Gu was his. With a whoosh, the moonlight Gu flew to the middle of Ming's forehead, leaving a faint blue crescent mark. Not wanting to flaunt it, Ming willed the mark to retreat beneath his skin. The moonlight goo needed 4 moon orchid petals a day, 2 servings of 2 petals each. Ming glanced at the moon orchids in the system space, a satisfied look on his face. I should sort out those moon orchids with intact roots and stems when I get a chance. See if I can transplant them somewhere. Unfortunately, the moon orchids could only remain as they were in the system storage space. They couldn't grow. Otherwise, he could use the system space as a personal farm. Now that he had the moonlight goo, Ming felt a twitch in his fingers. He looked at the wooden stool in the room, willed the moonlight goo to appear in his palm, and flooded it with true essence from his empty orifice. Focusing his mind, Ming slashed out. A palm-sized dark blue moon blade flashed through the air. In silence, the wooden bench was split in half. The break was as smooth as a mirror. Impressive. But that single attack had drained 10% of the emerald green true essence in his bronze sea. As a first-level goo master, he could only unleash 4 moon blades before running dry. These sea-level qualifications are really holding me back. Still, it's more than enough to take out a soul master without soul power to defend themselves. Feeling his growing power, he was feeling a lot more confident about his plans. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Ming started sifting through his last reward, the 1 to 5 turn goo master application encyclopedia. Humanity is the spirit of all things, and goo is the essence of the natural world. The way of the goo master hinges on nurturing, using, and refining. Chapter 4, Good Luck. Another shipment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After snagging a goo worm, you've got a real project on your hands, raising, using, and refining the darn thing. Luckily, the 1 to 5 turn goo master application encyclopedia the system coughed up covers all the details for those levels. First turn goo worms include the wine worm, the small light goo, the jade skin goo. Second turn goo worms like the white jade goo, the love separation. The wine worm boosts your inner power, speeding up cultivation. The small light goo powers up the moonlight goos. Attack, while the white jade goo beefs up your defenses. Ming thought, these goo worms are useful, that he wished he could refine and master them all. The void's endless, able to hold a ton of goo worms, but a goo master's got limited resources, so you can only refine a few. For now, he was just daydreaming. After getting the gist of the encyclopedia, Ming figured out a few possible goo master paths. Control focused, brute force, long-range combat, but which way to go depended on what kind of goo worms he could get his hands on later. Right now, he was stuck in the Douluo Continent, not the goo world, so goo worms weren't exactly jumping out of the woodwork. A lot of them just weren't around here. Ming sat on the bed, legs crossed, his emerald green inner power washing over the light film for cultivation. While he soaked up all that info, the first night in Douluo Continent went by quietly. The next day, the village came alive. Farmers with their tools headed out to the fields. These were all disciples of Haotian sect's affiliated groups. After Haotian sect holed up, most of its followers ended up like this. Ming, with a backpack and pickaxe, trailed along with them. 5 years back, during that battle at Wuhuan City, Haotian himself stepped in, made the Pope back down, and saved that 100,000-year soul beast. Talk about guts. You said it. Too bad his son's a bit slow. He actually wanted to marry off that 100,000-year soul beast his dad found for him. Shoo. Zip it. That's not something we should be gossiping about. That Ming deliberately started the conversation to get some intel from the farmers. He pinned down the timeline and realized he couldn't ditch Haotian sect just to screw with Tang San's luck. Judging by the timing, Tang San was probably just leaving Slaughter City and chilling at Yuexian. His cultivation must be at Soul King level 50 or so. That jerk already messed up the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, and the Azura gods probably got his eye on him. And the vast sea universe cover? A measly level 10 soul warrior like him couldn't even dream of getting that, so he missed his chance to grab the easy wins early on. And the later opportunities were way out of his league right now. Since he couldn't boost his soul power that way, he'd have to focus on his goo master skills first, then worry about soul power. Opportunities gone. Fine, I'll make my own. Ming glanced back at the white-clad figure trailing him, then slipped through the crowd, heading toward the mine. after half an hour, he arrived at a mine west of the village that belonged to Haotian's sect. The mine was basically a tall mountain, mostly bare rock, with grass growing here and there. At the bottom, mine entrances dotted the hillside, looking like a beehive. After Haotian's sect went into hiding, these mines became a major source of income. The ore was roughly processed by the sect's blacksmiths and sent to Dejengson's metal city to keep the sect afloat. He could hear the clanging of tools already, as other errand disciples and outer disciples had already started mining. This mine wasn't exactly overflowing with resources, so only the guys stuck in the small village bothered coming here. Ming walked confidently over the gravel, heading for the hillside to find some boulder-sized rocks to mine. The mine was huge, with people spread out hundreds of yards apart, so there wasn't any competition for ore. The pickaxe sent jolts up his arms, but Ming got used to it pretty quickly. Leveling up his soul power slightly improved his physical strength. A level 10 soul master could hack away at these rocks all day. Plus, after that moon orchid flower sea spirit spring bath, his body was in top shape. He might only be a first-level goo master, but physically, he could outdo your average great soul master. A natural-born miner. Bang! The rock split open, and a walnut-sized piece of iron ore with a silvery glint rolled out. Score. Iron ore was the best stuff in this mine. That little chunk could fetch at least 1 gold soul coin. He needed to save up to buy materials for raising poisonous insects. He bent down to pick it up, but someone stepped on it first. Ming looked up at Tang Yanran, arms crossed, sneering down at him. "Didn't you know this is my turf? That iron ore's your apology." Tang Yanran bent down, snatched up the iron ore, stuffed it in his pocket, and patted Ming's shoulder. "Tang Ming, plenty more ore in the mine, keep digging." The other disciples just watched for a second, then went back to work like nothing happened. They weren't about to tick off a great soul master for a low-level errand boy. Tang Yanran saw the calm look in Ming's eyes and felt a twinge of unease, but he laughed it off. Just a soul master, a nobody. What was there to worry about? Tang Yanran chuckled. Don't even think about snitching to the sect, either. You're just an errand boy. They won't care. Ming's expression didn't change. His eyes were like deep pools, hiding his thoughts. Hearing Tang Yanran's taunts, he sneered inwardly. I knew you were following me. Didn't think you'd crack this quick. Perfect. He flashed a hint of fear, as if he'd realized something, lowered his head, and headed down into the mine. The mine was riskier than digging around outside. You had to watch out for cave-ins and underground soul beasts. Usually, nobody bothered mining in there. Tang Yanran thought Ming looked scared and submissive. Afraid, huh? Even better. That means I can steal his allowance without any trouble. Tang Yanran grinned as he watched Ming disappear into the mine. He wanted to rob Ming's allowance, sure, but he also wanted to break him down and make him his personal miner. Tang Yanran made a show of walking around, hiding from view, before slipping into the mine after Ming. Ding, ding, ding. Inside, Tang Yanran heard the sound of a pickaxe, and his grin widened. Too many people were outside to make a move. Now it was just the two of them. No one would see him teach this punk a lesson. He was a level 21 great soul master. Taking down a level 9 soul master would be a piece of cake. Following the sound, Tang Yanran turned a corner and saw Ming swinging his pickaxe at the wall. Ding! A sharp sound rang out, and a bright green light burst from the rock. At the same time, a wave of soul power flooded the tunnel, shocking both of them. Ming looked stunned. He didn't expect to strike gold just like that. This wasn't just some ordinary rock. He swung the pickaxe again, smashing the surrounding rock. A chunk of green jade fell to the ground. Inside, a finger-sized worm was trapped. Ming's eyes snapped into focus. The green jade contained a poisonous insect. Chapter 5 The role-playing level skyrocketed. The reward is a rank 4 goo worm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Yanran thought he'd hit the jackpot today. He'd taken Tang Xiaolong's advice to heart yesterday and kept a close watch on Tang Yiming, the errand boy. Turns out, he followed the guy right to the mine and stumbled on a piece of iron ore. Score! He could trade it for gold soul coins, add it to his stash, and sneak off to a Tiendo City brothel for some tunes. He figured his lucky streak was over after that, and all he had to do was shake down Tang Yanran for good measure, but no. Tang Yanran just kept on delivering. That jade, glowing green and buzzing with soul power, was definitely no ordinary rock. He could fence it in Tiendo City for hundreds of gold soul coins, easy. Enough to enjoy those tunes over and over. Hold up. Gotta milk Tang Yanran for all he's worth. Tang Nyo's eyes darted around. If Tang Yanran blabbed about the jade, it would draw the sect's attention, for sure, they'd snatch up a jade like that in a heartbeat. He'd only get a fraction of the real value. Off him? The thought flashed into Tang Nyo's head. No one saw him enter the mine just now, and Tang Yanran was just a chump. He could kill him in the mine, cook up a story about a cave-in or a soul beast attack, and walk away clean. Then, the treasure was all his. The green light from the jade made Tang Nyo's face look twisted and mean. He looked up, eyes locked on Ming. And walked right into a palm-sized, dark blue moon blade. His pupils shrunk to pinpricks. He didn't have time to call on his soul power, let alone his martial soul. Tang. His voice choked off, thwack, starred at a dark blue flash, and a head went flying. Tang Nyo watched the world spin. He saw his white-robed body falling backward, neck empty. Why overthink a kill? Ming glanced at the body and looked down at the green jade. Didn't expect to dig up a goo worm in this mine. How about that? He murmured, eyes shining. He bent down, picked up the green jade, and saw the goo worm in the faint light. It looked like a stink bug, flat and wide, with a tiny head and a light green body. Even through the jade, Ming could see the faint halo it gave off, matching it to the goo master's handbook in his head. He instantly ID'd the worm. A first-turn goo worm, jade skin goo. Talk about a lucky day. Suddenly, a barrage of system prompts hit Ming's mind. Ding! Refining Dao Master Roleplaying hits 10%. Rewards: 1 first-turn goo worm wine worm, 1 first-turn goo worm white pig goo, 1 first-turn goo worm small light goo, and a spiritual spring initiation. Ding! Refining Dao Master Roleplaying hits 15%. Rewards: 1000 yuanshire and 1 second-turn goo worm water cover goo. Ding! Refining Dao Master Roleplaying hits 20%. Rewards: 1 4th-turn goo worm blood skull goo. That's a big jump. Roleplaying up 15% at once. Ming was surprised. Then he thought about the real Refining Dao Master in the book, and it made sense. Killing was just a means to an end. If there's another way, who'd choose to kill? If he couldn't awaken his talent in this test with the foreign races invading, he was as good as dead. Now he had a chance to change things. Was he gonna let it slip by? Looking at the headless corpse at his feet, Ming's heart raced, face flushed, and arms trembled. It was his first kill. Even though he thought of these people as NPCs, the sight still got to him, but only for a second. Ming got himself under control. He wasn't in that safe world anymore. Hesitation meant death. Tang Nyo, thanks for making things easy. Ming murmured, then carefully checked his system rewards. He saw a pattern. It looked like the rewards were especially good every time the role-playing hit a multiple of 10. At 10%, he got 3 goo worms and a spiritual spring initiation. He didn't know what that was, but it sounded good after the last moon orchid sea spiritual spring refining. And at 20%, it skipped the 3rd turn and gave him a 4th turn goo worm. The blood skull goo. It had its downsides, and most people wouldn't touch it, but it was powerful. The blood skull goo used the blood of relatives to boost your own cultivation. Feeling like you're not good enough? Think about your family. The saying flashed through his mind, and his brain kicked into overdrive. Ming had been thinking about what to do with Tang Nyo's body, but the blood skull goo gave him a new idea. This place wasn't safe, so he saved the other rewards for later and went for the 20% bonus, the 4th level blood skull goo. Ding! Reward issued. A palm-sized crystal skull appeared, with light red blood streaks all over it. Ming held it gently, channeled his true essence, and started refining the blood skull goo. Normally, a 1st-level goo master couldn't refine a 4th-level goo worm. The worms had wills of their own, and the high-level ones had tons of power. The backlash would crush an ordinary goo master, but this blood skull goo was a system reward, and its will was almost gone. Yi Ming's true essence flowed in easily and instantly refined it, boom, star, his sea of true essence erupted, washing over his light film barrier like a tidal wave. The film turned moist, then transparent. His emerald green true essence darkened, he had reached the mid-level of the first turn. Yi Ming was thrilled. He hadn't expected refining this fourth turn goo worm to boost his cultivation. He looked at Tang Yanran. You really are my lucky charm, that he summoned the blood skull goo and tossed it at the body. The blood-red crystal circled Tang Yanran, drawing out strands of blood and pouring them into the skull's empty eye sockets. After drinking the blood-colored threads on the skull became more vivid. Tang Yanran shriveled into a dried-up corpse, nothing like the outer disciple and 21st-level great soul master he'd been. He never understood how a 9th-level soul warrior could kill him, a great soul master. Yi Ming calmed down. With a flick of his wrist, the blood skull goo flew over and hovered above his head. Let's see if you can boost my cultivation. Tang Yanran, my beloved relatives, brothers, and sisters. Chapter 6, Improved to 50% Qualification. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Ming summoned the blood skull goo, which hovered above his head. Its tightly sealed mouth opened, releasing a stream of blood. Unlike what one might expect, the blood didn't smell fishy. Instead, it carried a refreshing fragrance that put him at ease. The blood cascaded over him, then seemed to vanish into thin air. Yi Ming felt his talent, previously at 44%, begin to climb, 45%, 46%, 50%. The green true essence shimmered, and the glow from the water film intensified. His goo master potential was rising again. In the void, the sea of true essence hit 50%. Another 10% increase would push him into B-level qualification. Focusing his mind, he directed the green true essence to surge and batter the water film relentlessly. This cultivation felt far more potent than before. If previously the emerald green true essence was like a trickle, it was now a raging fire hose. This was the power of improved cultivation potential. The blood spring in his orifice disappeared, and the blood skull goo retreated back inside. Yi Ming understood that this was only the first use of the blood skull goo. Because his initial potential was so low, the improvement was dramatic. In the future, achieving such significant leaps would require a far greater sacrifice. Despite this, he was elated. The entire direct lineage of the Haotian sect, his beloved relatives, brothers, and sisters, and Tang San's family, scattered and suffering, his good brothers, waiting for his rescue. Even with this boost, I'm still like an ant trying to topple a tree compared to the Haotian sect. This will take time. Yi Ming considered his situation, then glanced down at the flattened Tang Yanran at his feet. As an outer disciple and also part of the Haotian sect's direct lineage, Tang Yanran's fate would undoubtedly be investigated thoroughly. If not handled carefully, it could mean serious trouble. If Tang Yanran wanted to mess with me, he wouldn't have waited this long. Someone put him up to it. Tang Xiaolong's withholding of stipends from the menial disciples is no secret. He's the obvious culprit. Yi Ming stroked his chin and muttered, Tang Xiaolong won't get away with this. A plan was forming in his mind. He rolled up the dried, flattened Tang Yanran, stuffed him into his backpack, and roughly covered him with a few rocks before leaving the mine. He scanned the cave entrance. Finding no one, he slipped out and into the forest bordering the mine. This forest bordered the Guhan Hills and backed onto the Hongyu Mountains. It was often home to century-old soul beasts and occasionally even thousand-year ones. Entering the forest, Yi Ming easily found several piles of soul beast droppings. He tossed the dried, flattened Tang Yanran onto the ground, adding a touch of blood to the scene, then returned to the mine to resume his role as a gold miner. Another half-hour passed under the bright sun. He added a few more pieces of black iron ore to his backpack. He returned to the village at a leisurely pace, heading straight for the village chief's house. Inside, he found Tang Xiaolong lounging on a recliner, happily munching on a fiery red fruit Yi Ming had never seen before. Tang Xiaolong was alone. The old village chief was likely off visiting the village widow, Wang, again. Brother Xiaolong. Something terrible has happened, Yi Ming said, his face etched with worry. brother Tang Yo was attacked by a soul beast, that with a jolt, Tang Xiaolong shot up from the recliner, his eyes wide with shock. "What did you say?" Yi Ming feigned fear and whispered, "Today, I went to the mine, and brother Tang Yo kept hassling me." Tang Xiaolong's face twisted, a flicker of unease in his eyes. He had ordered this to happen, and now that it was being brought up, he felt decidedly uncomfortable. "And then?" Tang Xiaolong asked, changing the subject. Yi Ming saw everything, lowered his head, and continued, "I didn't dare disobey brother Tang Yo, so I went into the mine. And, lucky me, I actually dug up a piece of jade that was giving off soul power and glowing green. I just took a whiff of the jade's power, and boom, I broke through to a 10th level soul master." Huh. Tang Xiaolong sensed the soul power in Yi Ming's body and realized he was telling the truth. He unleashed his momentum, revealing the power of a great soul master. His eyes flashed, and he demanded, "Where's the jade?" Yi Ming struggled against the pressure and replied, "I knew it was valuable, so I wanted to hide it." Tang Xiaolong narrowed his eyes but didn't argue. If he'd found such a treasure, he would want it for himself, too. "What does any of this have to do with Tang Yo?" he asked. "I knew it was risky bringing it back, so I wanted to stash it in the forest and practice in secret," Yi Ming said, head lowered. "But Tang Yo found me. He snatched the jade, and I couldn't stop him. He told me to keep it a secret and give him all my ore from now on. I had no choice but to agree and walk away." A flicker of fear flashed in Yi Ming's eyes, and his body trembled. Then a giant spider came out of nowhere, a spider with a human face. It impaled brother Tang Yo. I freaked out and ran. He took a deep breath and asked, "Brother Xiaolong, should we report this to the sect?" He whispered, "Even though brother Tang Yo treated me like that, we're still brothers. It might be too late to save him." Tang Xiaolong's mind raced as he desperately considered his options. He had to report this. The death of an outer disciple was a big deal. But if he did, his own actions might be investigated. Besides, Tang Yo was probably dead, but the treasure might still be there. Anything that could boost cultivation was a top-tier item. He wanted it. He decided he could make this work. Reporting to the sect was necessary, but he could use it to buy some time. He forced a smile, clapped Yi Ming on the shoulder, and stuffed a bag of gold soul coins into his hands. "Yi Ming, listen to me. These 50 gold soul coins are to keep you calm. When the sect investigates, tell them Tang Yo was exploiting you, stealing your ore, and just happened to run into a soul beast and die. Take me to the spot. If we find the jade, I'll give you another 200 gold soul coins." Yi Ming smiled inwardly. The bait had been taken. Everyone had greed. If you couldn't control it, it would eventually become a weakness someone could exploit. His story was full of holes, but Tang Xiaolong, blinded by greed, would fill them in himself. Tang Xiaolong never considered that Yi Ming had killed Tang Yo, a trash martial soul with no soul rings and reverse mutation, a menial disciple with only level 10 soul power, kill a great soul master with a level 21 clear sky hammer martial soul. No one would believe that. Sometimes, being weak was a form of protection. After some bargaining, Yi Ming reluctantly accepted the gold soul coins and whispered, "Brother Xiaolong, you want to cover it up and steal it?" Before he could finish, Tang Xiaolong covered his mouth and chuckled, "Don't talk about that. Just take me to the spot. Giving you the gold soul coin is hush money." Got it? His eyes flashed, and his voice sharpened. Yi Ming hesitated, and just as he was about to reply, the system notification popped into his head. Ding, the refining Dao master progress has reached 25%, reward. Friends who enjoy this, please read it. Thank you. Chapter 7 Investigation from the Punishment Hall. Receive rewards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. Reaching 25% completion of the Refining Dao Master role grants you the following rewards: Second Tier Goo Insect Shadow Companion Goo, 2000 Yuan Stones, and the complete collection of physical combat techniques. Hearing the system notification, Yi Ming grinned. Fong Yuan was all about results. He didn't care about the how, as long as he got the job done. This move clearly aligned with Fong Yuan's character. boosting his acting score by another 5%. Resisting the urge to claim his reward, Yi Ming told Tang Xiaolong to lead him to Tang Niu. To save time, Tang Xiaolong grabbed Yi Ming's arm and channeled his soul power to move faster. In under 30 minutes, they reached the edge of the forest. Yi Ming wouldn't have brought Tang Xiaolong here if he wasn't prepared. When they arrived, they saw the ground was disturbed, with a pile of shredded clothes in the center, and a few strips of dried meat hanging nearby. Tang Xiaolong scowled, covering his nose in disgust. He was sure Tang Niu had become Soul Beast Chow. Thinking about the treasure, he hurried over to the pile of rags, grabbed a stick, and started poking around. A moment later, his face lit up as he pulled out a thumb-sized jade that glowed green. Suddenly, Tang Xiaolong wasn't so disgusted anymore. He eagerly reached for the jade, asking Yi Ming, "Is this the jade you found?" That he already knew in his heart that this had to be some rare treasure. The moment he held it, he could feel the warm soul power flowing from the jade, slowly entering his body and nourishing him. "Yep, that's the one. That's the jade," Yi Ming confirmed with a nod. It was indeed the piece of jade containing the jade skin goo worm, but just a small fragment. He would only reveal its true nature after Tang Xiaolong claimed it, to fully cement the deception. "You gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelette." He wasn't worried about Tang Xiaolong turning on him. After all, he'd already alerted the Haotian sect on his way here. The punishment hall guys were probably on their way. Tang Xiaolong, overjoyed, quickly pocketed the jade and tossed a small pouch to Yi Ming. "Remember what I told you?" Yi Ming heard the clinking of gold soul coins in the bag and nodded. Just then, they heard a rush of wind behind them, and 3 figures appeared. The leader was a broad-shouldered man in black, with short black hair and looked to be about 30. The muscles under his clothes were bulging. He looked like a coiled spring ready to strike. Because of their special martial souls, Haotian sect members were known for their strength. This guy was a prime example. Unlike the other disciples, the word Haotian on the man's chest was made of gold and blood, making it stand out. Even though Yi Ming had seen his share of beefy guys lately, he was still impressed. He thought to himself that this physique must be a Haotian sect specialty, considering they all swung hammers. "Deputy Hall Master Long, you came yourself?" The moment Tang Xiaolong saw him, he put on a flattering expression, then, full of false grief, frowned and sighed, but, alas, he let out a long sigh, acting depressed, and mumbled, "Poor Tang Niu." The man was Tang Long, Tang Zhao's stepson and the top disciple of the Haotian sect's 3rd generation, as well as the deputy head of the punishment hall. Seeing the scene, the man in black scowled and barked, "What the hell happened here?" Tang Niu was a level 20 great soul master. How could a soul beast take him down so easily? As Tang Long spoke, the surrounding trees swayed, buffeted by the aura that erupted from him. Since the Haotian sect sealed the mountain, there were only 200 or so direct disciples left, and each one was considered a valuable asset. Not counting the servants, that is. Now, a great soul master had been killed by a soul beast right outside the mountain gate. And, by blood, Tang Niu was family. As Tang Zhao's stepson and a potential future leader of the Haotian sect, how could he not be furious? Tang Long's rage made Tang Xiaolong tremble as he stammered out a story. Of course, it was the one he and Yi Ming had concocted, conveniently leaving out the jade. After Tang Long heard him out, he questioned Yi Ming as well, then went to Tang Niu's remains and examined them closely. Both Yi Ming and Tang Xiaolong were on edge, worried about what he might find. After a few tense moments, Tang Long stood up, staring at Tang Xiaolong and Yi Ming. "Collect Tang Niu's remains and bring them back to the sect to rest in peace. Those beasts dare to kill my Haotian sect disciples. They'll pay. I'll report this to the sect leader. We'll clean out the soul beasts around ancient Mark Hills and give Tang Niu's spirit some peace." Yi Ming and Tang Xiaolong breathed a sigh of relief, lowering their heads and responding, "Yes, sir." Tang Long nodded, finally turning his gaze to Yi Ming. He nodded, saying, "You've reached level 10. You can apply to become an outer disciple. In a few days, we're hunting soul beasts. I'll have someone take you along and help you pick out a good one." Tang Long was at least a soul emperor, so it wasn't surprising he could see through his cultivation level. He knew the guy was offering him a good soul beast to keep him quiet. According to their story, it wasn't exactly honorable for Tang Yanran to bully fellow disciples and get killed by a soul beast. If that story got out, it would reflect poorly on the sect. Ming wasn't too concerned. He wanted to see what the soul beasts in this world were like for himself, but he wasn't about to argue with Tang Long right now, and responded respectfully, "I'll follow your arrangements, Hall Master." Tang Long nodded. To become an outer disciple, you need to pass the assessment. Good luck. With that, he and the two outer disciples headed back to the sect. The death of an outer disciple at the hands of soul beasts was a serious matter. After watching Tang Long and the others leave, Tang Xiaolong breathed a sigh of relief. He knew it was over. The treasure was his. He looked at Ming and thought to himself, this kid is in good with the deputy hall master now. Can't kill him to shut him up. But without him, I wouldn't have gotten this treasure. He's my good luck charm. Tang Xiaolong walked up to Ming and clapped him on the shoulder. Collect Tang Niu's bones and take them back to the sect. And keep this whole thing to yourself. Ming nodded, suppressing the urge to improve Tang Xiaolong's qualifications, and silently sorted out the tattered remains. He kept reminding himself, we're all brothers here. The heat hasn't let up, can't go doing him in just yet. After sending Tang Niu back to the sect and taking care of the loose ends, it was dark. Back in his cabin, Ming let out a sigh, just like he figured. It was all over. Mouths are just tools of deception. Ming had made his position on Tang Niu's death clear. Since the Haotian sect didn't know the truth, they wouldn't come after him. All right, time to count my cash. System, claim the reward. Chapter 8. Receive a series of system rewards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. During that day, his Dao-refining venerable role-playing jumped from 10% all the way up to 25%. Ming opened the system interface and carefully reviewed the rewards. At 10% roleplay, you receive a first-turn wine worm, a first-turn white pig goo, a first-turn small light goo, and spiritual spring cleansing. At 15% roleplay, you receive 1000 yuan stones and a second-turn water cover goo. At 20% roleplay, you receive a fourth-turn blood skull goo. At 25% roleplay, you receive a second-turn shadow follower goo, 2000 yuan stones, and the complete physical combat techniques. He'd already refined the blood skull goo from the 20% reward, leaving 3 unclaimed. Unable to contain his excitement, Ming clicked the receive button. Ding. Dao refining venerable 10% roleplay rewards issued. Ming held out his hand, and 3 oddly shaped goo worms materialized in his palm. The first-turn wine worm resembled a silkworm, radiating a pearly white light. Plump and undeniably cute, this wine worm could refine true essence and was considered a real prize among first-turn goo. Best of all, it only needed wine to survive, making it easy to care for. The white pig goo looked like a milky white ladybug, small head, chubby belly, and a shiny shell. Its purpose, transform the goo master's body, fundamentally boosting power. This boost wouldn't disappear, even if the goo worm died. Finally, the small light goo, a fingertip-sized 5-pointed star. An auxiliary goo, it could double power when paired with the moonlight goo. System-provided goo had no independent thought. The moment Ming touched them, his true essence began to refine them. The wine worm and white pig goo dove into his body and frolicked in the sea of bronze. The small light goo settled on his right palm, morphing into a tiny, 5-pointed star mark. Before Ming could even test the 3 new additions, the space around him shifted. Having experienced the moon orchid sea cleansing before, he wasn't too surprised. Opening his eyes, he faced a towering waterfall, spiritual spring water flowing from it, thick with yuan energy. Below the falls lay a massive bluestone platform. His figure instantly appeared on the platform, and the spiritual spring water slammed into him. Whoa! Ming gasped, the pain intense. He sat cross-legged, struggling to maintain his posture. The spiritual spring water washed over him, stirring his sea of true essence. Layer after layer of impurity washed away. At the same time, his body was getting stronger. Encouraged, Ming ignored the pain and focused on resisting the force of the falls. This was a rare opportunity. The longer he endured, the more he'd gain. The roiling sea of true essence drew the attention of the wine worm and white pig goo, which dove deep. As the cleansing continued, Yi Ming's true essence shifted from green to a darker shade. Time seemed to stop. Finally, a faint crackle echoed in his body, and his cultivation jumped to first level, high stage. The spiritual spring water stopped flowing, the scene warped, and when Yi Ming opened his eyes, he was back in his cabin. The sudden shift left him feeling disoriented, but the surging power and dark green true essence quickly brought a smile to his face. Another breakthrough. My soul power level must have gone up, too, he mused, stroking his chin. But I'll find out for sure when I get that first soul ring. System, claim the 15% roleplay reward, ding. Reward issued. 1,000 yuan stones have been added to your storage. Yi Ming nodded. One less thing to worry about. He held out his palm, and a small, transparent, teardrop-shaped ladybug settled in his hand. This water-cover goo, a defensive type. Among second-level goo, it provided excellent protection, even better than the second-level Bayou goo, white pig goo plus jade skin goo combo. I'm a high-stage first level now. It'll be tough to activate the water-cover goo, but it could save my life in a pinch. Pleased, Yi Ming channeled his true essence to refine the water-cover goo. Then, he claimed the last reward at 25%, ding. Rewards issued. 2,000 yuan stones have been added to your system storage. The second-level shadow follower goo appeared. A black cricket, it could turn into darkness, allowing short bursts of travel through shadows. This goo significantly boosted his survivability. With a thought, he refined the shadow follower goo and stored it in his body. Next, a flood of information surged into his mind, leaving him dizzy and disoriented. Ugh. After a moment, the knowledge settled, and Yi Ming recovered. The complete physical combat techniques, containing a treasure trove of combat styles, now resided in his mind. Fists, palms, elbows, legs, every part of his body could become a weapon. These physical techniques were truly something special. But it's all theoretical. I need to integrate it in actual combat. Yi Ming knew that Tang Long would be taking the Haotian sect disciples into the mountains to hunt soul beasts soon. He planned to seize the opportunity to hone his skills and fully master these techniques. With all the system rewards claimed, only one task remained. He pulled a piece of green jade from his pocket, revealing the jade skin goo encased within. He was excited. The jade skin goo, a first-level defensive goo capable of instantly turning the body into jade. Surprisingly strong, also a key ingredient in creating the second-level white jade goo. More importantly, the jade skin goo originated from the Douluo Continent. Meaning, there might be other magical goo worms lurking on Douluo. He could hunt soul beasts for skills and catch goo worms to improve himself. Focusing, Yi Ming used the moonlight goo to carefully cut through the green jade. Dust trickled away, revealing the jade skin goo within. Finally, the jade skin goo rested in his palm. Yi Ming cautiously pushed true essence into its body. A faint resistance greeted him. He grinned. The jade skin goo was alive. The long years sealed in jade had weakened it, making its resistance minimal. The true essence surged in, overwhelming the goo worm and claiming it. Phew! Success! After sending the jade skin goo into his sea of true essence to recuperate, Yi Ming finally relaxed. With more goo worms at his disposal, he was getting stronger. He looked at the goo playing in the sea of true essence. In 5 years, that mythical gift might not be so far out of reach after all. Chapter 9 Tang Long's Ambition. First Encounter with Soul Beast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days passed uneventfully. In those 3 days, the story of Tang Nyo's tragic sacrifice to a soul beast while saving Tang Yiming spread like wildfire through the sect. It was on everyone's lips, and Tang Nyo was now hailed as a selfless hero. His funeral drew crowds of admiring outer disciples, while the inner disciples mourned his loss. A collective anger began to bubble within them. How dare these beasts encroach on our territory and attack Haotian sect disciples? They've got a death wish. As the outrage peaked, the deputy head of the punishment hall announced the launch of a full-scale soul beast purge. Inner disciples led groups of outer disciples to drive out any soul beast older than 1,000 years within a 10-mile radius of the Haotian sect. they couldn't expand the scope any further, with the Haotian sect's dwindling numbers, even policing a 10-mile radius, including disciples from affiliated sects, stretched them thin. In a small village at the foot of the mountain, Tang Long, surrounded by dozens of disciples, couldn't hide his excitement, since the Haotian sect's retreat, Tang Xiao, had become hands-off with sect affairs, leaving Tang Long with ever-growing power. At this rate, the Wuhuan sect's leadership, control of the world's most formidable offensive force, would be his, Tang Long's. He had proposed this very clean-up operation. Revenge for Tang Niu was secondary. What mattered was consolidating his influence within the sect. I've already got 3 of the 5 elders on my side. Plus, with my father's backing, there's no way Tang San can steal my position. Tang Long surveyed the group, raised his hand, and declared, "All right, let's move out. Teams of 10 to clear out the soul beasts." "Yes, sir." The disciples responded in unison, and under Tang Long's orders, they fanned out and entered the ancient Mark Hills from various directions. Each group consisted of 2 inner disciples, several outer disciples, and a few gray-robed handyman disciples. These handyman disciples, all with soul power reaching level 10, hoped to seize this opportunity to acquire their first soul ring and qualify for outer disciple status. Ming was among them. His group was led by Tang Yu, a level 54 soul king, backed by 6 outer disciples in their 20s who were great soul masters, and an inner disciple in his 40s who was a soul sect member. This setup was more than enough to protect him and the other handyman disciple, Tang Yanran. On the forest's fringes, however, tension was already thick in the air. The 6 outer disciples, protective and eager to impress, surrounded Tang Yanran. She basked in their attention, but focused most of her energy on currying favor with Tang Yu and the inner disciple. When she did glance at Ming, it was with undisguised disdain and resentment. Ming knew that Tang Yanran was probably close to Tang Niu, which explained her animosity, but why should that be his problem? "They better not push me, or I might just improve my own qualifications." Shrugging, Ming casually fell in with the group as they headed into the woods. He'd spent the last 3 days acclimating to his powers and the various goo insects, and he was itching to test them out. For now, he needed to keep the goo insect abilities under wraps within the Haotian sect, or he'd have some explaining to do, but using physical techniques was fair game. With the white boar goo steadily amplifying his strength, coupled with the boost from the spiritual spring training, he figured he could probably take down a great soul master with a single punch. About half an hour later, the group skirted the mine and entered the ancient Mark Hills. As soon as they were under the trees, team leader Tang Yu warned, "All right, everyone, stay sharp. Keep your eyes peeled. These 1,000-year soul beasts aren't pushovers." As a soul king, he could handle the average 10,000-year soul beast, but this time, he had too many people to watch out for. Soul beasts had all sorts of tricks and could strike without warning. Even he had to be careful. Tang Yu's words sobered everyone up, and they cautiously advanced into the hills. The inner disciple led the way, while Tang Yu ordered several outer disciples to keep Ming and Tang Yanran safe in the center of the group. He brought up the rear, ready to assist anyone in trouble. "Our mission is to drive the 1,000-year soul beasts away from the sect," Tang Yu reminded them. "But Yanran and the others need to get their first soul ring. If we find a suitable soul beast, they'll get first dibs." The others nodded in agreement. Whoosh! Suddenly, 2 long, green vines lashed out from the trees, aimed directly at an outer disciple. "Heads up!" The leading inner sect disciple, Tang Qingyi, instantly summoned a clear sky hammer in his right hand, and 4 soul rings, yellow, purple, and violet, swirled around him rhythmically. He stomped the ground with his right foot, soared into the air, and struck at the 2 vines. The clear sky hammer whistled as it smashed the vines out of the air. The 2 outer disciples behind him reacted instantly and charged into the undergrowth from where the vines had emerged. They brandished identical clear sky hammers. The men pushed through the bushes to find a bloody vine as thick as a bull swinging its tendrils, trying to kill everyone. "It's an 800-year-old vampire vine." Tang Yu was surprised. They hadn't gone far, just into the outer reaches of the hills. Sect outer disciples often came here to pick fruit. This 800-year-old plant-type soul beast could easily kill a level 10 soul warrior like Tang Yanran. Tang Yu's eyes hardened. "Plant soul beasts can't move. Kill it." This was Haotian sect territory. They couldn't afford any more casualties among the disciples. The outer disciples didn't hesitate, wielding their Haotian hammers to fend off the vampire vine's attacks, then pounded it into oblivion. Boom, boom, that the vampire vine was no match for them and was soon hammered in half. A yellow soul ring floated slowly from its remains. This type of plant soul beast wasn't suited for the clear sky hammer's domineering style, so Tang Yu didn't offer it to Yi Ming and Tang Yanran. He simply led the group onward. Yi Ming stroked his chin, observing the scene with interest. He realized the clear sky hammer was seriously powerful. With its skills and raw force, even the Moonlight Gu's attack paled in comparison. He thought about his forging hammer spirit and wondered, if I could find some fairy grass, maybe I could mutate it into a clear sky hammer. But what fairy grass, exactly? He had no idea. He had opened his air orifice and could walk the path of the Gu Master, but why not get a spirit ring as well and keep his options open? He was starting to look forward to his first spirit ring. Soul Masters in Douluo Continent absorb spirit rings based on physical strength, so my current physical condition should be at least as good as theirs, right? Yi Ming scanned the group, looking for a Soul Master to compare himself to, but the opportunity hadn't presented itself. After killing the vampire vine, Tang Long led the team forward again. They encountered several hundred-year soul beasts, but none were threatening, so they left them alone. Before they knew it, they were close to the boundary they'd set. Neither Yi Ming nor Tang Yanran had acquired their first soul ring. Tang Long was starting to get worried. Chapter 10,000-Year-Old Dark Gold Fear Claw Bear. Tang Yanran's targeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He was a soul king, for crying out loud. He was leading this expedition, and he couldn't even snag a couple of measly soul rings for 2 scrub disciples. Tang Tian would never let him live it down. When he got back to the sect, the team halted at the edge of the boundary. Tang Yu thought to himself, Guhan Hill isn't a major soul beast hotspot like Star Do or Sunset Forest. High-level soul beasts are few and far between. With my strength, I could handle a 10,000-year soul beast, and at the very least, make a run for it. Besides, this is just the forest's edge. What are the odds of running into a 10,000-year soul beast? Looking at Tang Yanran's eager expression, Tang Yu made up his mind. Alright, let's head in. We'll find Yanran and Yi Ming their first soul rings, then we're pulling out, pronto. Among the Haotian sect's third-generation disciples, Tang Yu was a top dog. No one on the team would dare to cross him. Everyone figured with a soul king like Tang Yu watching their backs, grabbing a couple of hundred-year soul beasts would be a walk in the park. Yi Ming, surrounded by the group, heard Tang Yu's words and muttered to himself, is this tempting fate? That he was a nobody in the team, so he didn't have a say. Even Tang Yanran gave him the stink eye. If it weren't for the sect's rules, they wouldn't lift a finger for a lowly disciple like Yi Ming. Guhan Hills, loaded with mountainous rock formations, reminded Yi Ming of the karst landscapes back in his old world. As soon as the team crossed the line, they started bumping into soul beasts left and right. 100-year wind baboons, ghost vines, green silk snakes, the whole shebang, but as common as they were, none of them were suitable for the clear sky hammer's dominating style. If you wanted to hunt soul beasts, Star Do Great Forest and Sunset Forest were the places to be. They had soul beasts of all types and ages, perfect for finding soul rings for a lifetime. Nowhere near as many options in smaller spots like soul beast breeding grounds and Guhan Hills. Soul Masters could consider themselves lucky to find the right soul beast after hanging around for weeks. With no other choice, Tang Yu kept pushing the team deeper. They were scaling a hill when all hell broke loose. Roar! A bear's roar echoed through the hills. Out of nowhere, a pair of nasty bear claws, sharp enough to cut through anything, ripped out of the hilltop, and turned the black-clad inner sect disciple's head into hamburger meat. No! Tang Yu roared, summoning his clear sky hammer martial spirit and hammering it at the dark gold giant bear that appeared. Bang! The earth-shattering blow slammed into the giant bear's chest, staggering it back. By then, the black-clad disciple was done for, slumping down the hill. Tang Yanran's scream could peel paint, but the giant bear shot her a look that shut her right up. That's when everyone got a good look at the beast. Its dark gold fur glistened, screaming super defense. Its claws glowed with icy light, radiating a deadly aura that made everyone's blood run cold. One of the outer disciples recognized the markings. 1,000-year dark gold terror claw bear. What's it doing here? The others were stunned. Dark gold terror claw bears were born to be kings. A 10,000-year could give a 100,000-year soul beast a run for its money. Even an ordinary 10,000-year soul beast would have trouble against this 1,000-year terror claw bear. The black-clad disciple didn't even have time to summon his martial soul before the terror claw bear reduced him to pulp. Ming watched the whole scene and slipped back into the crowd. He glanced at the inner sect disciples' remains, frowning at the terror claw bear in front of them. Sure, it was only at the 1,000-year level, but it was a force to be reckoned with, both offense and defense. Even Tang Yu was struggling to keep up. The outer sect disciples saw their comrade butchered and their blood boiled. They summoned their clear sky hammer martial spirits, roaring, and charged at the terror claw bear. Tang Yu was a soul king and he was barely holding on. These great soul masters were just getting in the way. Roar! The terror claw bear roared, its razor claws knocking Tang Yu back, then turned around and crushed another outer sect disciple's chest. Blood splattered everywhere, chilling everyone to the bone. Ah! Tang Yu roared, his 5 soul rings flaring up, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, swirling around him. He was seeing red after 2 of his own were mauled. The 4th and 5th rings pulsed with purple and black light. 4th soul skill, Haotian clone. 5th soul skill, Haotian strike. Tang Yu roared, the clear sky hammer multiplied into 5 afterimages, hammering down on the dark gold terror claw bear. Each hammer carried the full force of his power. Even a soul emperor would be hard-pressed against that move. The hill echoed with deafening impacts. Tang Yu finally knocked the terror claw bear off its feet. The bear spat blood, staining its dark gold fur, its breath shallow. This terror claw bear was having a bad day. Any other soul king, and it would have won, no sweat, but it had to run into the clear sky hammer, the top weapon spirit on the continent. And to make matters worse, it pissed off Tang Yu by killing 2 of his guys. Tang Yu didn't give the terror claw bear a chance. He unleashed the clear sky hammer, pounding the bear from the top of the hill all the way to the bottom. His heart pumping, chaos cloak hammer method in full effect. You're done, Tang Yu roared, the clear sky hammer slamming down, leaving the dark gold terror claw bear no room to breathe. Roar! The terror claw bear whimpered, fading fast. Brother Yu, wait up. Just then, Ming summoned his forging hammer martial spirit and smashed it right onto the terror claw bear's head. The terror claw bear, 1 hit away from death, finally gave up the ghost. When a soul beast dies, it drops a soul ring that only the one who landed the killing blow can absorb. Ming couldn't hold back any longer after seeing the terror claw bear's oddity. Ming's speed and precision surprised Tang Yu, but he didn't need the soul ring, and with 2 disciples dead, he had bigger fish to fry. Tang Yanran finally snapped out of it. She glared at Ming for snatching the rare soul beast's soul ring. Hey! You can't even absorb a 1,000-year soul ring, why'd you jump in front of Brother Yu? She went off on him. You're just going to screw up Brother Yu's attack, you know. What if the soul beast went berserk? You could have gotten us all killed.